Welcome to my 100th episode.
Welcome to episode 200. You are viewing episode 300.
You're watching episode 400.
Some of you may be asking, where's Spatry? Well, he's a little tied up right now. Shut up, at least I gave you a cameo.
So, that's how this show's gonna transpire, huh? You're watching episode 500. I've hit another milestone. Can't believe that I made it this far. In today's show, I am going to recap some of the best and some of the worst moments in the history of this show. And, of course, I'll even throw in a few new things that you've never seen before. It is Déjàvu right now on Spatry's Cup of Linux. Some of you wanted to know, what's in the name? Where did I get the name Spatry from? Well, interestingly enough, I got the idea from my business partner. And basically, it was in his email address, of all things, where he took characters from his first, middle, and last name and squished it all into one word. So, you take, my first, middle, and last name and squish it into one word, you get Spatry. September 20th of 2011 is when I started this show. I did not have a clue as to what I was going to call it. So, as I was heading off to the kitchen to get another cup of joe, I said to myself out loud, I'm going to go grab another cup of Linux. And a light bulb went ding, lit up in my head, and I was like, hey, that's the show's title. I decided to run with it. And in this sequence coming up, I think what I'll go ahead and do is share with you a clip from my very oldest show that I have on the air, and you can see how some of the titles have transitioned.
Welcome to Spatry's Cup of Linux. In this episode, we are going to discuss the Kodak ESP-C310 printer. Now, this printer has been on the market for a little while, but it was advertised as being one of the most cost-effective printers that's out there in terms of purchasing ink. Welcome to Spatry's Cup of Linux. In this episode, we're going to be covering a preview of the 64-bit Windows 8.
Welcome to Spatry's Cup of Linux. In this episode, we are going to discuss wine. And I'm not talking about Pinot Grigio, Cabernet Sauvignon, or even Mad Dog 2020 for that matter.
I hope that Halloween clip didn't scare you away, but that just takes us to our next segment, where I picked out some really good and some not so good moments in this show's history.
Now, this is for all of you anime fans. Mangaka Mo. That sounds like something Mom used to make me eat when I was a little kid.
You better eat your Mangaka Mo, or else you won't get any dessert!
And the moral of this story is, never drink anything with caution on the label. Ugh.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love sent to me tucks in the file tree. How about that new Metro interface in Windows 8? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Kids, I've been up all night building Gentoo. I haven't had any sleep. I'm wired on coffee. I don't know where I get my energy from, but you guys are catching me in rare form today. So let me just tell you what you get with this thing, so I can get back to compiling Gentoo. Do you guys really want to see a Gentoo video from me? Are you nuts?
Linux is sexy, and if you want to be sexy just like me, you better install Gentoo. Let me show you how.
That clip is going to haunt me for the rest of my life, kids. So where do we go from here? Well, I'm going to continue to focus on the community. Now, many of you will remember when YouTube issued out its changes to the comment system, I had to adapt to it because it just made it difficult for me to keep track of all of your comments that are coming in. So I decided to put up a forum. And this has been a terrific solution. And then after a couple months, I found the forum software that was suggested to me really didn't meet my needs. I figured it was time to upgrade to something where I could, give it more room for expansion. And that's exactly what I've done. Because now, not only do we have the forum, I also had to address a need with IRC. As many of you know, Freenode IRC is susceptible to DDoS attacks. And of course, a lot of troublemakers like to go in there and disrupt everybody's enjoyment. So I addressed that issue by putting up a chat room on cupoflinux.com. Also, the community asked for me to make my own spin of Manjaro so that they could experience Linux the same way that I do. And I plan to continue, keeping that up to date. Plus, we also have a new blog. I moved my blog over from Blogger to cupoflinux.com, and then, of course, the wiki, which still needs a little bit of work. But this summer, I will be attending an online Linux course, and I put up the wiki so I could have a place to put all of my notes. This way, I can share with the community knowledge as I obtain it. Now, many of you guys have heard me talk about my mother, and she's 71 years old. She has 2 computers powered by Linux Lite. So I figured I would just pass the microphone over to her, and she'll share a little bit of her experience with you.
Hi, I'm Spatry's mom. And now you can see where he gets his beautiful smile and personality from. Ha ha ha. I've been using Linux Lite for about 7 months. My son told me about how Linux would allow me to easily get day-to-day tasks done without having to worry about viruses. I can easily manage my photos, print documents, and play my favorite games in a Windows virtual machine. I can keep in touch with family and friends using Skype or email, and I enjoy watching inspirational videos. Linux works very well for me. I always had problems in Windows. Many times I could not connect to the internet, or viruses would prevent me from reading my email. I am happy I have my son here to keep the computers maintained for me. As you can see here, my old computer has been repurposed into a media center. Now I can watch TV and stream video from the internet. My son set this up so that I could use this easily because I have no technical skills. I can use simple keyboard commands to adjust volume and close programs when I am done. Pretty neat, huh?
Now, Mom mentioned that she uses a virtual machine for playing her favorite games. I set that up for her. And the nice thing about her virtual machine is it has no internet connectivity at all, so we really don't have to worry about her getting viruses. But for those of you who are using a Windows virtual machine and you're worried about getting viruses, I have a technique that I can show you that can help you in the case where you want to keep yourself protected when using virtual machines. And I mentioned this in yesterday's video when I talked about RoboLinux. Okay, here we are on the desktop, and I'm showing my virtual machine. I have a shared folder set up. Assuming this is Windows XP, what I do is I set up Windows XP or any virtual machine exactly the way I want it, and then I share all of the files that I create in that virtual machine with the host drive. Okay, so once you have all your software installed and you have everything working to your liking, you're good to go. Okay, first what I'm going to do is go into settings here and show you that you need to have shared folders enabled, and then of course I have it set up for read and write access. Okay, this is great because when I create content that I'm putting on the host drive for backing up in storage, I can also virus scan them. Okay, now I'm going to go into the file menu here, and I'm going to export this appliance. I'm going to select the virtual machine that I want to export, press next, press next again, it's going to put it into your documents folder by default. And then restoring it is easy. Let's say you get your machine infected, just import that appliance, navigate to your documents folder or wherever you stored your image, and then press OK and next. Now obviously I'm not going to do that here because my Kdenlive workshop is already working quite well for me and I really don't want to replace it. But I hope that demonstration helped you out. I want to take this time to thank all of my contributors and supporters. Many of the things you see here at Cup of Linux could not have been done without your support. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to this show, and thanks to everyone who contributes to Spatry's Cup of Linux by disabling your ad blockers. Because you're not only helping me, you're also helping out the show hosts whom are creating content you enjoy the most. Also, many times, many thanks to everyone who supports the show by making donations or by purchasing products from the Cup of Linux store. This will continue to help me to make improvements to the show. Eventually I want to go to 1080p. This also helps with server costs, and it also supports the future development of the Manjaro Cup of Linux edition. So thank you, all of you. You are the best, and you know it. So, what happens after episode 500? Well, for one thing, I do want to finish the Kdenlive workshop. I just kind of got sidetracked there. And of course, I want to do a Cup of Linux edition boot camp where we're going to do all kinds of really cool and fun things with the Manjaro Cup of Linux edition. I also will take your suggestions. Just visit my forum at cupoflinux.com and drop your ideas in my suggestion box. If you post them here on YouTube, unfortunately, they will get overlooked. I have hundreds of comments coming in every day, and it is impossible for me to keep track of them. So we have a long way to go before we get to episode 1000, but one thing is certain. If I even have half as much fun as I had in making these first 500 episodes, it will still be one heck of a wild ride, hey? Well, that's all I have for now. Thank you, all of you, once again, and we will see you next time.